Anton Singleton, also known as Big Lurch, was born September 15, 1976 in Dallas, Texas. He spent his youth in the Fraser housing projects and was no stranger to guns, drugs, and crime. By the late 90s, he was introduced to hip-hop and began rapping about his hard living conditions and drug use, the usual subjects of gangster rap in the 90s. These raps caught the eye of a producer, Rick Rock, who took Big Lurch to Oakland to record an album. This album was a flop, but at least Big Lurch had his foot in the door of the rap game. During the late 90s, after the death of Tupac and Biggie, rap was going through an identity crisis. Without these two rap superstars, gangster rap as a genre was fading from the mainstream. During this time, Eminem had just dropped the Slim Shady LP, featuring dark, novelistic lyrics about killing his mother, the mother of his child, and more. The genre of rap that Eminem was dabbling in would later be known as horrorcore. Big Lurch took a liking to this new style of rap and began writing about serial killers like Jeffery Dahmer and movie characters like Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, but no one could know that life would begin to imitate art. When Big Lurch was 24, he was hit by a drunk driver, breaking his neck. During his slow and painful healing process, he turned to PCP to manage his pain. While PCP is an anesthetic, it also causes major hallucinations, distorted perceptions of sounds, and violent behavior. Big Lurch began going days or weeks on end high off PCP, not eating, and continuing to become more delusional. He eventually became so delusional one day that he was convinced the world was ending and he had to kill the devil. At this point, he went home and murdered his 21-year-old roommate, Tanisha Yai. He then carved open her stomach and began eating pieces of her lung. He was found wandering the streets naked with her half-eaten lung in his hands, staring at the sky, still hallucinating. After this, he went into a 2-week PCP-induced coma and awoke having no recollection of what happened. He was charged with murder, and his lawyers tried to plead insanity because of his psychotic mind state as a result of PCP, but the court ruled this as insufficient evidence, and on November 7, 2003, Big Lurch was sentenced to life in prison without parole. This isn't the end of Big Lurch's story though, as Tanisha's mother filed a wrongful death suit against Singleton, his bodyguard, Stress Free Records, Death Row Records, and Tanisha's boyfriend. The lawsuit alleged that the record labels had provided Singleton with drugs to make him act out in a violent manner, to make him more marketable as a gangster rap artist. Tanisha's mother and Big Lurch himself still alleged that he was set up by his record label and Tanisha's ex-boyfriend. A quote from Big Lurch states, "I was signed to Milton Grimes' label, Stress Free Records. He was also my lawyer, so I trusted him. Grimes never said there was a pit bull in the dope house with us. Matter of fact, Grimes went on the Geraldo show and played an unreleased song of mine, Texas Boy. They brought up that song like it was a blueprint for the murder, and the jury went for it. Grimes didn't even let me have decent clothes to wear in court. Grimes had me looking like Hannibal Lecter. There's not even proof that I actually did the murder. We started smoking the PCP and they just kept feeding it to me and feeding it to me. The next thing I remember, I woke up in jail with a murder. My prints wasn't on the weapon, it was a dope house. They didn't find no dope in the dope house though. We were on Figaro, we were heavily armed up in there. We had all kinds of guns up in there, but the police came to the spot. There wasn't no guns up in there. The gangbangers cleaned the spot out. Grimes had me pleading insanity because I was high on PCP, and he knew you can't use drugs to claim insanity in a California courtroom. He threw me under the bus. Grimes didn't even get a statement from Tanisha's mother, Caroline, and she was willing to take the stand and say I was set up. Tanisha's mother, Caroline Stinson, came to visit me when I was locked up in the Twin Towers. She told me she knew I was set up and that she forgave me. So do you believe Anton Singleton, aka Big Lurch, is really a murderer and cannibal, or was he set up by his record label?